Cowboys. The Cowboys are Donald Trump. Huge brand, massive fan base, and impossible to ignore. Whether you love them or hate them, they dominate the conversation. America's team even eerily sounds like Make America Great Again. They're always promising a return to greatness, even when the product doesn't match the hype. Trump's first campaign ran on restoring American dominance. The Cowboys talk about the Super Bowl every August. Trump's court case fiasco, that's Dallas losing to a backup quarterback in the 2022 wildcard game. Steelers. The Steelers are Abraham Lincoln. Steady leadership, unshakable identity, and built on uniting people through tough times. Lincoln preserved the Union. The Steelers preserve NFL tradition. Stable coaching, hard-nosed football, and no-nonsense culture that outlasts trends. They don't chase flash. They build legacy, but even Lincoln's legacy wasn't immune to tragedy. His assassination cut short a promising period of rebuilding. Just like the Steelers haven't won a playoff game since 2016, despite consistent regular season success. Lincoln's unfinished reconstruction mirrors Pittsburgh's recent postseason futility. The mission continues, but the glory feels painfully incomplete. Chiefs. The Chiefs are Harry Truman, underrated, unshaken, and capable of seismic decisions. Truman dropped the bomb. Mahomes came back with 13 seconds left in a playoff game against the Bills and won. Both shocked the world when it mattered most. Truman surprised everyone with his road to victory in 1948, a result no one saw coming. And so did the Chiefs after winning despite 50 years without a title. Quiet state, loud result. That's how legends form. Patriots. Just like George Washington set the tone for an entire nation, Belichick and Brady built the modern NFL dynasty like they were the league's founding fathers. They weren't flashy, but they were inevitable. Just like George Washington, they are the standard by which all others are judged. Also, Washington refusing a third term mirrors the Brady-Belichick breakup, an end of an era, done with dignity and the beginning of something new for both. Washington stepped down and watched democracy evolve, just like Brady stepped away to let New England search for its identity in a post-GOAT world. Eagles. James Madison was the brains behind the Constitution. Undersized, tactical, and brilliant, just like the Eagles' offense at its peak. Madison rewrote the playbook for democracy. Philly rewrote it for trick plays. Smart, scrappy, and revolutionary when it clicks. Madison's leadership during the War of 1812 showed resilience after setbacks, much like the Eagles bouncing back from a 4-11-1 season to a Super Bowl appearance under Jalen Hurts. The British burned the White House. The Eagles got boat raced by Dallas, but they both bounced back swinging. 49ers. James K. Polk brought California into the Union. The 49ers brought California into NFL royalty. Polk expanded the US with Manifest Destiny. The Niners expanded West Coast football with West Coast offense. Both took huge swings and hit gold. The Mexican-American War gave Polk Texas and California. The 49ers' 1980s dynasty gave them Montana and Rice. Dominance built through bold moves. Polk declined his second term after huge success, mirroring how the Niners lost Walsh after a title. They burned bright, changed everything, and then stepped back. Packers. Thomas Jefferson was an innovator. Just like Green Bay revolutionized football with the forward pass and community ownership. Both are thinkers with roots that shape the identity of their world. Jefferson drafted the Declaration. The Packers drafted Aaron Rodgers. Vision matters. The Louisiana Purchase doubled the country, much like Rodgers doubled Green Bay's title count post-Favre. Ravens. Cool, quiet, efficient. That's both Calvin Coolidge and the Baltimore Ravens. No headlines, just results. Defense, discipline, and focus. You won't see them throwing shade, just bodies. Like Coolidge, they're all about business, and business is booming. Coolidge famously said, "The business of America is business." The Ravens live that every Sunday. Their 2012 Super Bowl run, all grit, no hype. Joe Flacco was elite for a month. Like Coolidge, the Ravens don't overstay their welcome. They strike, they win, and they vanish. Broncos. The Broncos are Teddy Roosevelt. Rugged, loud, and built for mountains. TR was a cowboy turned president. Denver are literal horsemen turned champions. Both are larger than life with a mean right hook. They won't back down, and they don't blend in. Roosevelt charging up San Juan Hill, that's Elway leading the Broncos to back-to-back Super Bowl wins after years of falling short. TR's Bull Moose run after his presidency mirrors Peyton Manning's last hurrah. Faded, injured, but still strong enough to ride off victorious. Bears. The Bears are Barack Obama. Smart, cool, inspirational with sky-high expectations. They promise hope and change every time a new QB arrives. When they deliver, it's poetic. When they don't, it still feels historic. Obama's election was a milestone. The Bears' 2006 Super Bowl run was a cultural moment. Devin Hester returning the opening kick felt like yes we can in football form. Cardinals. The Cardinals are John Tyler. Nobody's first choice, but somehow always there. The oldest franchise in the NFL has wandered through Chicago, St. Louis, and now Arizona. Just like Tyler wandered ideologically and politically, neither ever truly fit in. Tyler was kicked out of his own party, and the Cardinals seemed perennially exiled from serious playoff conversations. Tyler's veto-heavy presidency made enemies in every direction, just like the Cardinals' stubborn commitment to dysfunction. And when they finally made a Super Bowl in 2008, only to collapse at the end, it echoed Tyler's lone major legislative success, the annexation of Texas, being overshadowed by the chaos that followed. Falcons. The Falcons are Jimmy Carter. Both are Georgia-born, full of hope, and defined by heartbreak. Carter entered the White House with the promise of renewal, but faced energy crisis, inflation, and the Iran hostage situation. The Falcons marched to the Super Bowl with MVP Matt Ryan, built a 28-3 lead, and then collapsed in real time. That meltdown became their Iran hostage crisis, a turning point that wiped away all goodwill. Just as Carter's presidency ended with regret despite good intentions, the Falcons' best season ended in infamy. The potential was there until it wasn't. Bills. The Bills are Grover Cleveland, two separate eras, both historic. Cleveland is the only president with non-consecutive terms, much like the Bills' early 1990s dynasty and their Josh Allen revival. Buffalo lived in Super Bowl after Super Bowl in the 90s, but never finished the job. Cleveland, too, never quite became a revered historical figure despite rare feats. And fittingly, he once served as Buffalo's mayor, linking the legacy directly. When the Bills lost in 13 seconds to the Chiefs in 2022, it felt like Cleveland winning the popular vote, but losing re-election anyway. Crushing, technical, and unfair. Panthers. The Panthers are Woodrow Wilson, idealistic, intellectual, and undone by their own blueprints. Wilson built the League of Nations. Carolina built around Cam Newton. Both rose fast with big visions. Wilson led the nation through World War I, just as Cam led the Panthers to a 15-1 season and Super Bowl 50. But like Wilson's peace plan crumbling in Congress, the Panthers' dreams died on the biggest stage. Cam's post-Super Bowl press conference, that's Wilson's failed health and political collapse in 1990. Both moments marked the end of their era, not with a bang, but with a whimper. Bengals. The Bengals are William Howard Taft, Cincinnati's own, bulky in presence and sharper than they get credit for. Taft became both president and chief justice. The Bengals, once a punchline, are now led by the cool precision of Joe Burrow. Yet both also symbolize friction. Taft clashed with Roosevelt and divided the Republican Party. The Bengals' ownership has long clashed with progress, resisting indoor practice facilities and modern methods. And like Taft's awkward transition between two titans, Roosevelt and Wilson, the Bengals' Super Bowl loss to the Rams felt like standing in between two eras, neither quite in control. Browns. The Browns are James A. Garfield, born in Ohio, full of potential and heartbreakingly unfinished. Garfield was assassinated just months into his presidency, and the Browns' glory years ended before the Super Bowl era even began. They've always carried the aura of greatness without the full payoff. Garfield talked about civil rights and meritocracy. The Browns talk about rebuilds and resurgence. And just when it seems like something real might happen, Baker's rookie year, the 2020 playoff win, it collapses. Garfield died from a wound that festered. The Browns from decisions that linger far too long. Lions. The Lions are Gerald Ford, Michigan-made, often overlooked, and endlessly trying to stabilize chaos. Ford became president after Watergate, with no election, no mandate, just responsibility. The Lions inherited decades of dysfunction and tried to fix it with Dan Campbell's grit and Jared Goff's redemption arc. Ford's presidency was about healing, not glory. The Lions' first playoff win in 30 years felt less like a triumph and more like a wound finally closing. And like Ford's pardon of Nixon, their decision to believe in a flawed but steady-handed quarterback was controversial, but maybe necessary. Texans. The Texans are Lyndon B. Johnson. Texas pride, towering ambition, and grand plans undone by catastrophe. LBJ launched the Great Society. The Texans launched with hope and future stars like Andre Johnson and Deshaun Watson, but Vietnam ruined LBJ's legacy, just like Watson's scandal blew up the Texans' foundation. Both saw their biggest achievements drowned by crisis. When LBJ didn't seek re-election, it echoed the Texans' full-scale teardown. GM, coach, quarterback, all gone. From big dreams to hard resets, the story turned fast. Colts. The Colts are Benjamin Harrison, Indianapolis-born, respectable, and occasionally revolutionary. Harrison oversaw economic modernization and national expansion. Peyton Manning turned the Colts into a no-huddle juggernaut that modernized NFL offense. Both were a bit stiff in personality, but brilliant in execution. And just as Harrison signed the Sherman Antitrust Act, meant to reshape competition, Manning's 2006 Super Bowl win broke through a Patriots dynasty and reshaped AFC balance. Yet neither maintained their peak. Harrison lost re-election. The Colts have wandered since Andrew Luck's retirement. Jaguars. The Jaguars are William Henry Harrison, an electric start that vanished in an instant. Harrison gave a historic inaugural address and died 31 days later. The Jags stunned the NFL with a 14-2 record in 1999, then faded fast. Again in 2017, they reached the AFC Championship and nearly took down the Patriots, yet they imploded again. Harrison's death cut off a presidency that might have mattered. Jacksonville keeps building something intriguing, only to lose the plot before it even begins. It's not failure, it's a ghost of what could have been. Raiders. The Raiders are Andrew Jackson. Rowdy, rebellious, and built on brute force. Jackson thrived on frontier justice and didn't care who got offended. Sounds a lot like Al Davis in the Silver and Black. They're outlaws by design. Jackson defied the Supreme Court. The Raiders defy league trends. His forced native removals were horrifying, but also reflected his unbending will, like the Raiders sticking with volatile quarterbacks or relocating multiple times. And like Jackson's bank war, their long war with the NFL establishment was personal, loud, and legendary. Chargers. The Chargers are Richard Nixon, cerebral, talented, and doomed by timing. Nixon opened China, won re-election in a landslide, and still lost it all to Watergate. The Chargers draft stars, build leads, and collapse when it matters. Their blown 27-point lead to the Jaguars in the 2022 playoffs, that was their Watergate. It didn't have to end that way, but somehow they made sure it did. Nixon could have been great if not for his self-inflicted wounds. So could the Chargers if they stopped chargering. Rams. The Rams are Ronald Reagan. Hollywood icons, stylish comebacks, and a flair for the dramatic. Reagan revived America's spirit with optimism and screen-ready charisma. The Rams, with McVay and Stafford, went all in and won a Super Bowl in their own city. Reagan's Morning in America was a perfect campaign act. The Rams' 2021 championship was built like a highlight reel. But like Reagan's second term, grappling with Iran-Contra, the Rams quickly faced a crash, aging stars, cap issues, and a steep hangover after the glitz. Dolphins. The Dolphins are JFK, young, glamorous, and mythologized by a single perfect era. Miami's undefeated 1972 season is Camelot in cleats, a time everyone remembers even if they weren't there. JFK brought energy and vision to a nation. The Dolphins brought speed and swagger to the NFL. And just as Kennedy's life ended abruptly in Dallas, the Dolphins' dominance faded just as quickly. They keep chasing that legacy, but like JFK's moon promise, it looms larger than life and just out of reach. Vikings. The Vikings are Herbert Hoover, promising, structured, and synonymous with collapse. Hoover was a brilliant organizer who presided over the start of the Great Depression. The Vikings have had brilliant rosters, MVP-level players, and then watched the bottom fall out. 1998, 2009, 2017. It's one gut punch after another. Hoover was blamed for forces beyond his control, so are the Vikings, whether it's missed kicks, bad fumbles, or overtime coin tosses. Hope turns to heartbreak every single time. Saints. The Saints are FDR, leaders through catastrophe, bringing light after darkness. New Orleans was shattered by Hurricane Katrina. The Saints, like Roosevelt during the Great Depression and World War II, rose with steady leadership. Sean Payton and Drew Brees rebuilt not just a team, but a city's morale. FDR gave us the New Deal. The Saints gave us the ambush onside kick in Super Bowls. Both moments were desperate, brilliant, and ultimately victorious. Time from tragedy. That's their legacy. Giants. The Giants are Ulysses S. Grant, war-tested, underappreciated, and elite when it matters most. Grant crushed the Confederacy when the stakes were highest. The Giants crushed the Patriots' perfect season. Twice, New York took down Brady when no one else could. Like Grant, they didn't always look clean doing it. Grant's presidency was plagued by corruption and scandals. The Giants' regular seasons are often forgettable, but come playoff time, like Grant in war, they deliver. Jets. The Jets are Chester A. Arthur, a surprise promotion, a moment of competence, and then a quiet fade. Arthur wasn't expected to lead, but briefly impressed, then disappeared from memory. The Jets won legendary Super Bowl with Joe Namath's fur coat and finger wag, and then decades of irrelevance. Arthur signed civil service reform. The Jets signed Brett Favre. Both made noise briefly. Then it was back to the shadows, wondering what could have been. Seahawks. The The Seahawks are Joe Biden, steady, experienced, and tasked with rebuilding after turbulence. Biden stepped into a divided country. The Seahawks moved on from the Legion of Boom and Russell Wilson. Both faced the challenge of restoring stability while pushing forward. Geno Smith's unexpected resurgence mirrors Biden's political comeback. Unheralded, but surprisingly effective. However, by calling a passing play instead of a run with Marshawn Lynch in the backfield, the Seahawks, just like Joe Biden, sometimes appear to be asleep at the wheel. Buccaneers. Buccaneers are William McKinley. Understated until suddenly they weren't. McKinley expanded American power with the Spanish-American War. The Bucs expanded their brand by bringing in Tom Brady. Tampa was a forgotten team. Then Brady landed and made them champions overnight. McKinley moved quietly but decisively. The Bucs won a title and looked like a machine, but his assassination in 1901 echoes the Bucs' sudden fall from grace after Brady's exit, leaving power without a plan. Titans. The Titans are Andrew Johnson, Tennessee-born, stubborn, and often stuck in the middle. Johnson took over after Lincoln and struggled to unite a divided country. The Titans, after their miracle 1999 run, have lived in constant transition, never quite rebuilding, never quite contending. Johnson fought with Congress constantly. The Titans fight with expectations. And just like Johnson was impeached but not removed, the Titans keep hanging around. Never quite good enough to push through, but never bad enough to start over. Commanders. The Commanders are Warren G. Harding. Promised normalcy, delivered scandal. Harding won a landslide, talked a good game, and then Teapot Dome exploded. The Commanders rebranded, rebuilt, and still couldn't escape Dan Schneider. Teapot Dome was Harding's legacy. FedEx Field sewage leaks, congressional investigations, and toxic culture, that's Washington's scandal. Both had moments of hope, and even though the Commanders are now excited with Jaden Daniels, they serve as cautionary tales about power with no oversight. If you like this video, consider subscribing to Football for Dummies and watching this next video, which YouTube thinks you're really gonna love.